All right, I'm here with Jeff of Fortina Chocolate, and we've known each other, a few years now, and I've watched him develop his chocolate craft. What I love about him is that he's got a background as a blacksmith. So I've been calling him the blacksmith of cacao because he's actually taken some of that technology of metallurgy into cacao production. There's been a big discrepancy between chocolatiering as it's been done in its more traditional sense since the 1800s, and then the raw chocolate, which is like a lot of people who are raw foodists who got into chocolate, started mixing paste and powder together in their kitchen or whatever, and developed chocolate products that have gone into the raw food community, but weren't made with some of the knowledge and wisdom that the old chocolatiers had. And what I like about what they're doing here is they understand some of the older things like tempering. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what is tempering chocolate.
Sure. So what we do here, tempering chocolate basically is taking the crystals, the fat crystals that already exist, and bringing them together into form.
So it's like when I'm always talking about structuring water, you're talking about structuring the fats.
Yeah, structuring the crystals. There's like 6 to 7 different stages of tempering, and they're all a different stage. On the stone, you can do chocolate anyway. It always forms some kind of a temper. As soon as the fats harden, they get tight, they contract, they come together. Whereas on a stone, something like this, I have more control of what's actually happening.
So you pour your liquid chocolate right onto this
stone.
Right
onto the stone.
Tell us what this stone is.
So this is green granite. This is a solid granite slab.
And granite now, and because of that, I mean, just touching it, it's really cool to the touch in this room. And this room's pretty warm. Yeah. But this stays ambient temperature, stays really cool. Right?
Yeah, it stays seems to be about 70 degrees or so.
Okay.
And the fact that it's green really excites me because it's kind of heart-loving.
It is the heart energy.
Yeah, and basically I take these guys, the chocolate goes onto the slab. That's where the blacksmithing comes in, because I did start out with chocolate with powder and butter coming together, although I've always tempered it in some form. And it all has to do with temperature. So with this, it's like I have my hammer, like I was used to, and I've got my striking hammer, or my hammer and my tongs in this hand.
Right.
So it became very natural for myself to just do it, figure it out.
Chocolate blacksmith.
So you just take one and I just figure it out, and you.
So what you're doing is you're bringing the temperature down slowly.
Yeah, slowly.
And that's allowing those crystals of fat to start to come together in an organized way instead of just locking up.
Exactly. That cool chocolate gets mixed back into the warm chocolate, and it brings everything back together. You bring it back up to about 90 degrees. Okay. That brings everything back together. Brings all those. Kind of brings that. To me, it feels like it just brings all the fats totally together. Okay. Okay. And then once you got everything organized, kind of where it wants to be, where its happy place, they go into the molds. Which I have molds like these, which I don't ever really wash. They kind of season themselves.
Okay. Right.
And then they go into the cooler. And now once they start cooling, everything starts contracting. That's where the tightness starts coming in. Right. It contracts. The fats start solidifying.
Now, if you've done your job right, they'll come together in a really tight way, right? Yeah. If you hadn't done the temper on it, the fats would sort of be disorganized, and you'd end up with discrepancy in the evenness of the texture.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. And that's where it gets its sheen from. Its gloss comes from tempering.
Okay.
It can only get shiny if it's tight.
Right, because these things are totally reflective.
Yeah. I've always been on a mission to create a chocolate that has no sweetener in it. No liquid sweetener, no sweetener of any kind. Yeah. So what I've come up with is, Chinese tonic herbs have always been my favorite. I've been taking them for 4 years now. I was actually introduced to cacao with reishi mushroom. It is a drink, and it just blew my mind. Yeah. And so I've been doing those consistently. So we did, with Romania of Shaman Shack, we actually put together 3 formulas for Jing, Qi, and Shen. And I've done an Amazonian blend. And what we do is we take the herbs in the stone grinder that you just saw, and we grind everything together. Okay. So we create a fusion of herbs and cacao.
Cacao is just such an amazing delivery vehicle for herbs, and the composition, the phytochemical composition of cacao is so perfect for delivering medicine throughout the body, and all through time that's been known. And that was one of the things it was used for originally when it was brought into our culture. Remember, solid cacao like this wasn't around until, what, 1840, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, when they first learned how to take the oils out and separate them. Before that, cacao was mostly used as a drink. And so now we have this ability to use cacao in this way to deliver medicine into the body in a way that's really fun. Trying to get somebody to take a whole bunch of herbs, it's a little hard there. We call that, in herbalism, we call it compliance. Compliance is tough when you got somebody trying to take a fistful of herbs. You put them in chocolate, and suddenly people become real compliant.
Yeah. You can find me at fortinachocolate.com.
So we got into Kelly's secret stash. When you're in a place like this, you always want to ask, like, hey, what's back there? So we ended up, this is what came out of the back. Now, that might not look like much, but Kelly, why don't you tell us what that is?
That is a kava root CO2 extract. Hold it in your mouth and just let it melt. In about 45 minutes, it'll really
so that's kava kava. That's a plant I love working with, a Polynesian pepper plant. The root of that plant is a bit psychoactive because of its kava lactones. But it needs to be extracted well in order to actually access the medicine. Man. But that was extracted in CO2, eh? Which is this emerging technology for extractions, and wow, it produces powerful extractions.
Powerful.
Where can we find that? Is that around here?
Yeah, you can find it here. Give me a call. Yeah.
All right, you heard it here. Kava kava CO2 extract with these guys. Man, that's good, Sarah. You gotta try that.
Works really well.